Welcome back to Crusader Shorts. You're watching Who Is, where we discuss the lore and backstory of our favourite heroes and villains. In this episode, we look into Darth Sidious, the Dark Lord of the Sith. Sheev Palpatine, also known as Darth Sidious and later the Emperor, was a human male born on the planet Naboo in 82 BBY. Palpatine would eventually become one of the most powerful Sith Lords in history and take full charge of the Republic and later the Empire, being the puppet master and mastermind behind most of the events in the galaxy. Palpatine served as the last Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic and the Galactic Empire's first and last Emperor. He was also the Dark Lord of the Sith in the Order of the Sith Lords and was recorded as the most powerful Sith to ever lived in history. The result of a 1,000-year plan to destroy the Jedi Order and the culmination and success of the Rule of Two. Palpatine took an interest in the dark side through dark side artifacts. In the year 65 BBY, he met a moon businessman named Hugo Damask, who in reality was a Sith Lord called Darth Plagueis. Plagueis later manipulated Palpatine into killing his own father and pledging himself to his new master and taking on the title of Darth Sidious. Palpatine would lead a double life for many years, whilst enacting out his master schemes with his master and later his apprentices. He would continue to learn from his master and begin training young Zabrak as a Sith assassin. Plagueis and Sidious were both very powerful and managed to disguise their true forms using the Force from the Jedi for decades. Plagueis would quietly search for the key to eternal life, whilst Palpatine manipulated politics and climbed ranks in the Galactic Senate. Palpatine used the Naboo crisis as a means to manipulate the politics and be voted in as Supreme Chancellor. Around this time, adhering to the Rule of Two, Palpatine slew Plagueis while he slept and embodied the title of Master. Palpatine, now the head of the Galactic Republic, also quietly orchestrated events in the background and secretly led the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the CIS, creating an almost self-made crisis to lead himself to power and to stay in it while setting the grounds for his plan. After his first apprentice's apparent demise, Sidious took on another apprentice known as Count Dooku, a former Jedi Master who he also used as a public figurehead of the CIS whilst he remained in the shadows, plotting. However, during the end of the Clone Wars, his old apprentice Maul came back to get revenge on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and with his brother Savage Opress, he fought his old master Sidious. However, he lost and his brother was slain, leaving him to serve Sidious for other purposes, until he was casted aside and left to die. Millions if not billions perished during the Clone Wars and the events on Naboo. Because of this, a considerably large and overwhelming number of the population were behind Palpatine, giving him the right power to change the galactic constitution in the name of security, in order for him to transfer the majority of the Senate's power and authority to his own office. Sidious had formed a plan with his apprentice Count Dooku to pretend Dooku had captured Palpatine on board of the CIS cruiser during the Battle of Coruscant. Dooku, according to the novelisation by Matthew Stover, was deceived by the Dark Lord into believing that the plan was to kill Obi-Wan and subdue Anakin, turning him to the dark side, followed by Dooku allowing the Republic to capture him. After some time of being in captivity, Dooku would transfer allegiance to the Republic, where he would join Anakin and his former master to form the new Empire. Dooku was unaware he would lose his life during this process when the plan went to action. The duel ensued between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Dooku overpowered Kenobi, whilst Anakin bested him in a duel, severing his hands and employing Sai Chi, a rarity in which a Jedi beheaded their opponent. Of course, this was encouraged and orchestrated by Sidious himself. Sidious would later have talks with Anakin and gain his trust. Sidious, known as Palpatine to Anakin at this point, would drop small hints of his knowledge of the Force and reason to where his knowledge came from, eventually inciting the story of his master Darth Plagueis, whom he had killed when he was asleep. Sidious told Anakin that his master had learnt the secret to eternal life before he was killed, a skill that required manipulation of midichlorians to create and conserve life. He said that this was the only power that would possibly save Padme from certain death, which of course promoted Anakin's emotional behaviour even more so. Anakin's emotions were clouding his judgment, and he knew he had to report Sidious to the Jedi Council, but he also had conflict in his emotions. He prioritised Padme over everything as he didn't want to lose another person. The Jedi Order was broken and split apart. This was the perfect time for Sidious to possibly strike. Whilst the Jedi Guard was down, of course, Master Yoda was on conquest in Kashyyyk, whilst Obi-Wan was engaging General Grievous on Utapau, a problem that Sidious also needed dealing with, so there was nobody to oppose him. However, Mace Windu, Saesee Tiin, Kit Fisto and Aegon Kalar were of the fewer dispatchable Jedi that remained at the temple. Anakin consulted with Mace Windu. He revealed the Chancellor's identity, citing that he believed him to be a Sith Lord, the one they had been looking for. Windu wanted confirmation, however when he was told he knew the ways of the dark side, they had to act quickly if the Order was to survive. Windu rounded up the three Masters Kit Fisto, Aegon Kalar and Saesee Tiin and took a Republic dropship to the Chancellor's quarters, where they would initially plan to arrest him in order to detain him in the Republic prison. Sidious swiftly slew the three Masters by Windu's side, near the beginning of the duel. Windu was one of the most skilled, if not perhaps the most skilled combatant in the whole of the Jedi Order. He employed multiple forms, more importantly the Pard, an almost violent form of lightsaber combat in which the wielder would channel the dark side energy or emotions into their blows. Few Jedi could employ this form without falling to the dark side, however Windu was known to use this form against Sidious, and perhaps this could be why he was so successful. Although people do speculate that Sidious may have thrown the fight in order to turn Anakin to the dark side. Windu battled it out with the Sith Lord until he kicked Sidious, disarming him and having him at the blade point at the face of a wall, with a smashed window exposing the city below. Windu now had no intention of arresting the Chancellor after witnessing firsthand the Sith Lord's immense power from his Force lightning. Windu was struck with a torrent of lightning. With Anakin now in their presence, both begged Skywalker to come to their aid. However, when Windu was about to plant a finishing strike on Sidious, Anakin begged him not to. His heightened emotions took control of his actions, and he severed Windu's hand, disarming him also. The Dark Lord Sidious struck Windu with vast amounts of lightning, whilst the Jedi Master lost his balance, thrusting him through the window and down into the city below. At this point, Sidious had been successful, and his new apprentice Anakin Skywalker pledged allegiance to him, taking on the title Darth Vader. Sidious sent Vader to dispatch of the remaining separatists who he no longer needed, whilst he put the next stage of his plan into motion. Through hologram transmission, he contacted the clone commanders of each legion, executing Order 66, which labelled all Jedi as traitors to the Republic and instructed them to be destroyed by the clones. This put the Jedi Purge into motion, almost wiping out the whole Order, and few remained. Without the Jedi to oppose him in his plans, Sidious, still hiding behind the face of Palpatine, declared himself as the Emperor of the First Galactic Empire to the Senate, claiming it would promote a safe and secure society, also citing his disfigurement was due to an attempt on his life by the Jedi traitors. The Republic had now been defeated, one that had stood for over 25,000 years. The ancient Sith plan had been achieved. The Sith would now rule the galaxy. Palpatine would further strengthen his military forces and begin to recruit natural-born humans into the Stormtrooper Corps, rather than just clones like the Grand Army of the Republic did. He abandoned his facade of being an enlightened leader and face of justice, and progressively began ruling with an iron fist over the galaxy through terror. He began developing and later finished the construction of the Death Star above Geonosis. After it was built, the Geonosian slaves who had worked on its construction were all wiped out and killed. The Death Star was born, a fully operational battle station, a super weapon that could annihilate entire planets. The Rebel Alliance destroyed the first Death Star, and naturally a second one had to be made and construction had begun. Palpatine gambled his chances and allowed Rebel spies to learn of the location of the second Death Star, near Endor. The rebels fell into the trap, and Sidious brought Vader's son Luke Skywalker into his custody aboard the Death Star in an attempt to turn him to the dark side and replace Vader. Vader of course could not defeat the Emperor, although he tried in the past. His armour that had acted as his own life support system after his defeat on Mustafar would most likely be his weakness and demise if Sidious was to employ Force lightning as he was famous for. After a duel between Vader and his son, Vader redeemed himself and picked up Sidious when his guard was down, throwing him into the Death Star's reactor shaft, killing him. In expanded universe content, now labelled Legends by Disney, Sidious transfers his spirit into clone bodies in a bid to rebuild his empire and temporarily converting Luke Skywalker to the dark side. However, remaining clone bodies were destroyed, and his bid for eternal life was also foiled. However, Legends content is regarded as non-canon, and thus is not believed to have happened in the storyline the films adhere to, although a lot of this content is very interesting to read. Thanks for watching Who Is. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please let us know by subscribing to the channel and liking the video so you get to see the future content like this. Also feel free to leave any comments below to suggest what we should include in our next episode, or feel free to leave opinions on the video. Also remember, if you look at our Who Is playlist on our channel, all of our previous lore videos are there if you wish to watch them.